Hello, I'm James Morse. I'm Creative Director at Matchbox Mobile. So at Matchbox, we create mobile applications for a variety of platforms, and in early 2010, we began working on the unreleased Windows Phone 7. So we took this opportunity to try out some new design tools and techniques, and in this presentation I'm going to share a few of those experiences with you. So firstly, I'll briefly tell you about the design language used in Windows Phone 7, otherwise known as Metro. So as the name suggests, Metro takes its inspiration from the visual design languages you'd see used in tube stations and airports. And these not only have this solid, no-nonsense presence, but they're also designed to communicate globally. And Metro differs visually from other mobile OSs in that it moves away from the hyperreal and glass buttons and drop shadows that we're used to seeing, and instead it focuses on clean, clear typography, good use of white space, and what the Phone 7 team refer to as content not chrome. And this is essentially reducing decoration and just focusing on the content. So it was important for us to fully understand Metro before we even began to think about designing any of our apps. So our first introduction to Metro was when we developed the Facebook and Twitter applications for the Zune HD. So, not to be confused with the first generation Zune, the HD is a touchscreen music player that was released in the US around 2009, and this used an early incarnation of the Metro UI and shared a lot of the same design principles. There's also a lot of documentation for Phone 7 and Metro UI available online, and I'll provide some links to those at the end of this presentation. So some of the key differences we found in comparison to other mobile OSs was firstly direct interaction with the content, and this is in essence content not chrome, so it's minimal use of buttons, and if you can see it, you can touch it and you can interact with it. We also noticed the OS puts a lot of faith in user discoverability, and interestingly there's not always an alternative. So there's an example here where if I wanted to delete this Google account, I'd need to tap and hold to bring up the contextual menu, and the option there is to delete the account. But if I do a single tap, it's just going to take me into settings, and within that there is not an option to delete the account. So tap and hold is used throughout the OS, but in most instances there's an alternative and a more discoverable option. Transitions are intrinsic to the Metro UI, and there's a nice example here where you tap on a date and you're propelled into day view. And it's quite nice, the swiping up and down to move from month to month, and I guess this is something I've always found quite odd on the iPhone calendar, is you have a left and right arrows that move the calendar month up and down, and don't know, it just seems a little bit strange. I first noticed the importance of transitions when I was looking through the early static screenshots of the Zune HD. And to me these look kind of quite bland, and possibly because I was used to the likes of iPhone and Android. And in comparison, I felt the UI almost had this wireframe-like appearance. And it wasn't until we got an early build and I saw the transitions and use of motion that it all began to come together. And the same goes for Windows Phone 7. And there's a nice example here where you go into the panorama and you can see the parallax effect and the different pace of the background and the text layers. So this is the panorama, which displays this recommended 3 to 4 panels with this cyclical left-right functionality. And panoramas are a great way of providing an overview of content in these bite-sized chunks, and also enticing the user to explore. So this is just a small sample of the type of observations we made that help to give us an understanding into Metro's personality, if you like. So when it came to designing our apps, we used the tried and tested techniques like simple sketches and paper prototyping, and there really is no substitute for good old-fashioned analog design, but we do always combine these with digital design tools. And with Windows Phone 7 we wanted to explore some of the alternative tools available, and in particular those offered within the Expression Blend SDK. So Blend is a tool for building the application's UI layer, and it also comes packaged with SketchFlow. So Sketchflow produces wireframes and user flow maps, and is also a very easy way of creating working prototypes that can be reviewed by anyone within their browser, and which is handy because the SDK is Windows only. So the view we're looking at here is the Sketchflow player running in the browser, and this allows the client, reviewer, or tester to interact with the wireframes and click through the screen flow. So this is a great way of accurately communicating your design ideas. Also worth mentioning, the font used here is called Buxton Sketch, named after the Canadian computer scientist and designer Bill Buxton, and not to be confused with Comic Sans. And there's also a user flow map that gives you a visual overview and allows you to quickly navigate through to specific screens. In addition, it also has this feedback feature that allows contributors to add comments and markups. And the text fields and buttons you see here are all real controls, and they're just skinned in this faux sketch style. So the idea is that once you've finalized your design, you can open it in Blend, begin to apply the application's UI layer, and it was this unified process that originally attracted us to Sketchflow. But unfortunately, due to its lack of support for Phone 7 controls and layouts, we found it more suited to web, which is its primary function. I think with future updates, if support is added for Phone 7, we would definitely look into using Sketchflow again. To reiterate, Blend is the tool we use for building the application's UI layer. And it's relatively quick and easy to knock up screens within Blend, complete with controls and transitions. So we found it great for prototyping as well, and these can easily be viewed within the emulator or deployed directly to devices. And this is great for user testing and sharing ideas with the client. So as a designer, I've been really impressed with Blend. It's the key piece of the puzzle between designer and developer collaboration. And although it's essentially a development tool, we found it very designer friendly to use, as we can pull down the source code, make changes in this WYSIWYG style, view it on the emulator or device, and then check it back in for development. And for those designers who don't want to take the time to learn Blend or don't have access to a PC, it also imports Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop files complete with layers. So I talked earlier about Sketchflow's prototyping capabilities, and we also trialed Sketchflow as a wireframing tool, but again it was just due to the lack of support for Phone 7 that we went back to our old wireframing methods. But what we did discover creating wireframes for Phone 7 was that because of the clean nature of the Metro UI and the design capabilities of Blend, that our devs could develop directly from the wireframes. So these are visual mock-up wireframe hybrids, or wire-ups if you like, and as long as we're using the same fonts, controls and layouts that fit the Metro paradigm, the developer already has all the info they need to create these within Blend. And we also find the client understands that these are working drawings, even though they're almost identical to the finished product. And we actually had some issues when we're using Sketchflow wireframes, where the client thought that we were suggesting they use Buxton Sketch as their font. So ultimately this idea of faux sketch digital design can create its own set of issues. So we do still create design visuals, but we only do these for the key screens, and in most instances these wireframe mock-up hybrids seem to do the trick. Branding any mobile app comes with its own set of challenges, but one of the key challenges for us in branding Windows Phone 7 apps was how do we integrate the branding without losing the clean, honest look of Metro. So firstly, I'll run through this application we did for the European Environment Agency called Eye on Earth. So what you're seeing here is the web-based version of the app, and this was our template for the Phone 7 version, and also our key reference for branding. So Eye on Earth displays bathing water and air quality data from stations located across Europe, and it also allows you to submit and view user feedback. So to talk you through the branding on Phone 7, I'd like to start at the same place the user starts, which is the application icon. So on Phone 7, app icons present the same branding opportunities as other mobile OSs. And you can see here there's the application list on the right hand side, and you've got the icon and the text there as well. But in addition to that, on Phone 7 you have the option to pin the application to your start menu, which results in the larger tile you see on the left hand side. So here we can see these offer both visual and textual branding opportunities. So then if I tap on the icon, I'm presented with the loading or splash screen, and this again is a key branding opportunity. There's no buttons, there's no user input required at all, so we have the user's undivided attention focused on the app logo, just waiting for the application to load. And then I'm in the app. So on the left hand side here we're presented with this full screen map. So you can tap on the water or air icon and view the collected data, which you'll see on the screen on the right hand side. So here we use the same colors, icons and graphics that you saw in the web app to provide this consistent cross-platform experience, but also to communicate the Eye on Earth brand. But there's no banner or logo, and on these two screens there's not even any text to say Eye on Earth. But because of the process the user has gone through to get here, they know this is an Eye on Earth application. They will see the Eye on Earth logo and name every time they open the app, or even just scrolling through their list of applications. And once they're in the app, they get to focus on the content full screen and uninterrupted. And I think this is important, especially on a single screen application like this, where you don't have the luxury of a panorama. And it's not always easy to sort of convince the client or marketing department that a big logo isn't required on every screen, and especially when they're just looking at a single screen mock-up. But placing the screens within the context of the user flow definitely helps to explain the situation. And of course there's plenty of examples of great apps which get bogged down by branding. And this is dictionary.com for the iPhone, and it's a fantastic app and one I use frequently. But you know, is it really necessary to sort of have two big logos on the start screen? And fortunately they have actually updated this app and addressed this particular issue with the latest release. So as a final branding example, I'd like to tell you about an application called Family Room. So this is an app we created for T-Mobile, and this allows family members to share information with other members within this private space. So you can share photos and calendar items for family events, and there's also a chalkboard feature that allows users to add posts and comments. So the challenges with this app was we not only had to marry T-Mobile's branding requirements with Metro, but at the same time this app had to feel like the user's own personal space. So one of the ways we approached this was to expand on Windows Phone 7's custom themes. So Phone 7 has a light theme and a dark theme, with an additional selection of highlight or accent colors you see here on the right hand side. So on Family Room we forced this white theme, added T-Mobile's magenta as the accent color, and this gives the app a subtle but definite T-Mobile feel. And the title you see at the top is set by the user, so in this case the Smith family. And the background image is also configured by the user. So when combined with the family member's own content, they can feel like this is their own personal space, even though the underlying theme is clearly T-Mobile. So that's a small selection of some of our findings working on the new Windows Phone 7. So these aren't the right way to do things or the wrong way to do things. These are just purely our observations, and we hope that other people will find them of interest. And anyway, thank you for listening.